Hello all. Platforms like Cloud Cowork and OpenClaw are defining the next wave of autonomous agents that live on a user's computer. They act on their behalf and integrate deeply with the tools they already use. I try to draw some inspiration from that to apply that to a solution based on WorkIQ and our Microsoft Foundry platform to automate certain activities which we carry out on a regular basis. And these are good candidates to be automated. In this agent, I'm calling the WorkIQ agent in this demonstration. It exhibits certain key design traits. One is the always on local execution. In fact, that agent is already running on my machine. In fact, it's the one I can just close this, but then it's still running in the background. It is driven by a skills based autonomy. When we host customers at the Microsoft Office premises here, before that, we need to prepare a detailed agenda, and so we have agents which automate that already. Okay, and then once this agenda is prepared, you see that it's quite detailed. In fact, I have created one which is very simple. I mean, just to make sure that I don't spam my colleagues as a part of running this demo. So in fact, I'm the only speaker here, and then there are several topics here, but in reality you could imagine that there are 15 or 16 line items, and then you need to block the time in the calendars for the speakers only for the duration for which they need to deliver the talk. So today, it is so difficult to do that in a granular way. You end up blocking the entire day of the speakers, which is not so desirable. So that's the use case I'm after here, and in the context of which I'm showing you this skills. In there are three tools here. One is the access to the WorkIQ API itself. The other is to log the progress of the task in the agent, and the last part is actually sending out the meeting invites after the individuals' email addresses have been obtained in the previous step. At a high level, I have described the sequence through which it has to go through. First is based on my end user input, it needs to retrieve the correct document which needs to be considered, the agenda document which I just showed you. Once that is done, it needs to extract all those line items which are topics to be delivered by speakers. The idea is that it should gloss over things which are secondary. For example, lunch break, tea breaks are not something that we concern with. But whatever work IQ requires, this agent should weed out those which are speaker delivered slots, get their names. In the step number three, for each of those names in the retrieved in the previous step, it needs to fetch their actual email addresses. Once that is done, the last step here is to call another API. So in this case, I'm using Azure Communication Services to send an invite and block the time of the speakers. You could imagine that you could also use WorkIQ Outlook APIs to do that. But at this time of writing, I don't have access to that API. So I have taken recourse to Azure Communication Services. So I think that gives you a view of how the agent itself works. But then the key thing here that I've incorporated is that um, when I'm away from my computer, I should still be able to interact with this agent, okay, from my mobile phone, for example, and then send messages asynchronously. And without I having to hold my breath till it completes that particular task, I can just go about doing my regular work. And then this agent gets triggered, it executes a task, and then updates me once it is done. Let me open the agent directly on my computer here. So I would say that so in this case, I'm directly invoking the agent because I'm in front of my computer, and then you'll notice here that it goes through all those processes, and in fact, it is using a different skill. If you notice here, it understands based on my input that it needs to locate the right skill to do the job. It figures that I have a skill called email underscore summary, in which I have described how it should go about doing that. So, by the way, this is something which is not very complicated. Okay, it's just for sake of variety. I added some skills, but of course, the primary use case that we are talking about is the Word document and sending out the meeting invites from here. So, while this is running, I want to get to the agent here on my Teams chat. I'm specifying that I have created an agenda document for to host a customer by name Contoso on 26th of March, which is this document. I have already uploaded this to OneDrive, and so WorkIQ has access to it. So now I have actually issued a job remotely. Okay, so I'm not connected to my computer. Imagine I could be on a phone very well, and then I could send this message. And you'll notice here that the request has been received here in the agent. In fact, I can close this even. Okay, and so the agent is still running the background. So while it is working, I can go on and work on other tasks that are required during the course of the day. And then once it is done, I'll get a notification back about the actions it has taken. So let's just wait for it to complete. So there you go. Even though I had closed it, the agent was actually actively at work. If you want to trace back what it has done, so it has done basis what we discussed earlier. The first step was to retrieve the document from OneDrive. It has got all those details. It has excluded tasks like the lunch breaks and tea, coffee breaks, etc., and the introductions part of it, and given me only those topics where a speaker is presenting upon. And it has retrieved my name as a speaker in the topics. It has then gone ahead and called WorkIQ to get my email address. It has obtained it at this point. And the last part is where it went ahead and called the third action to send me the meeting invite. So, in fact, you notice here that I have the alert notification saying that I've got two calendar blocks exactly for the time slot where I need to present my topic for. So, in conclusion, what I have just shown you is the way you can implement agents running locally on your computer. This agent is powered by WorkIQ and Microsoft Foundry's Responses API. It is driven by a skills based economy, which means that I don't have to program each and every uh, business process that it needs to implement. I can define a skills document which instructs how, in natural language, and how it should go about doing it. And then the agent is able to pick up the right tools that I have provided it to accomplish that particular task. And the last part is that the agent runs autonomously on my computer. I don't have to be in front of it to access it. So I just use Microsoft Teams on my laptop now, but I could very well be accessing it over Teams where I can send a particular task to this agent. It'll wake this agent up and then execute that and let me know once it is done. So I don't have to be waiting upon this agent or be logged in or sort of have an active window and wait for the response to come forth. It just completes a task and lets me know whenever that gets done. Thank you. This is